I've got an interesting one for you. They're called EVOFEM Biosciences, and you're wondering, why am I talking to you about them today? Well, I watched Google Trends for stock movement, and they were up over 700% yesterday. They've been trending up nicely for a while, so I wanted to take a look, a bit more of a deeper dive into what they were all about. Well, actually their stock price increased 188% yesterday, which sounds dramatic, but that only nudged them back over the $1 mark. But digging into those fundamentals, they've been having their problems, but they do have a great product called FEXI, which could be the turnaround for them. It's FDA approved, it's got a great following, very interested customer base there as well, so a lot of potential. Can they turn themselves around and possibly provide you with a 100x gain? Well, I'm going to look at those charts now, dig into the technical analysis to see where they're heading next, and throw in a few trade ideas for you as well. So with that, let's get on with that analysis. So diving straight into the weekly line chart for EVFM, EVOFEM Biosciences, you don't have to be the world's greatest technical analyst to see what's been going on there. They've had a pretty bad time of things. We've got data back to the late part of 2014, and you can see that big sell-off, which equated to an unbelievable 99.5% of the price very quickly into like 2016. Since then, been pretty sideways, all the volume down at these really low levels, and range in the last 3 or 4 years between 100 and 0. But you can see once upon a time they were up nearly at the $1,300 area, so there's massive upside potential if they can sort out those fundamentals, turn things around, get that very popular product out there, do the job that they need to do, then there's great upside. But it's a liquid stock, so be very careful. It's in the bioscience, biopharmaceutical sector, which is notoriously difficult to navigate, very risky, so definitely beware. But if you want to buy in to the stock in the short term, full line break chart can help you there. Well, what sort of numbers? Well, we're talking 115, 125, but if you look at the pre-market there, 144, it's going to jump through those straight away anyway, so the choice is going to be yours if you want to get in or not. But like I say, remember those risks involved with this sort of stock. And as you can see from the daily Heikin-Ashi chart, volatility, annual volatility is up nearly 500, up to 500% from its average around the 170s, 200. So it's an extremely volatile, risky stock. It has the spikes in vol, which is very hard to manage in such a liquid stock. And in terms of the signals, the longer term trend down the bottom there, still bearish, but we can see that spike yesterday, that 188% gain, turning things a bit more bullish. And if we zoom in a bit onto the actual price, we can then see that our probability power box long term tool is giving us a 96.4% probability that price can move up from these levels. It's supported by this red sort of zone here, that red dashed line. That's the institutional power zones, offers good support and resistance to the price, which we can see that price hugging. But the downside to this trade idea is this big red zone here, that trend line, which we can see is still red and down. We'd want to flip there for the ultimate trade for that to turn green. If it keeps moving at these sort of percentage moves, then it might not be long. So it's one to definitely keep an eye on there. And then if we head into the real short term using the Req'd chart, again we can see a really strong downtrend in the prices. See there, and our signals at the bottom, the longer term trend still down. Short term, because of yesterday's price action, bullish on the regression and on the stochastics. And heading on to the actual price action, so we've got a sell signal still outside the 2 pink line box breakout setup, And in terms of targets, well, there's not much point talking about the downside, but because there's not much left to go really, so that's why it is really a pure, as I would say, a punt, a play that's, if you want to take the risk, you take the risk and hope that it returns, because there's not much left to give back. So in terms of targets, really it's got to get into that sort of $6-5 area first up, which seems quite a long way from there at the moment, and then $10 I would suggest is the next point of call, and then up to, that's around about $15. So got the upside potential in the short and the longer term. It's whether they can sort their fundamentals out. And at the moment, we've seen a good day yesterday, probably going to be a reasonable day today as well. So are things turning around? We've seen that Google Trends interest piling up. So is this stock trying to tell us something? So what about some trade ideas? Jumping into the first trade options play, simulator, option simulator, great little tool. Typed in EVFM, the ticker, and as you can see from the chart there, not looking that great. You can see yesterday's little bounce. Now I'm going from the perspective of being bullish here. Technicals, as we've seen, aren't that great, but if we think things can turn around, what could we do? Well, I've put in a hypothetical $1,000 to this trade idea. So if you want to buy the stock outright, $1,000 is going to get you 800 shares. And my second idea here, and because this is such a small stock, the options possibilities are limited in terms of strikes, expiry, that sort of thing, the strategies that you could put together. So I'm going for here buying a January 2023 2.5 call, so loads of time left on there. And what could we get for our 1,000 stocks, options, dollars worth of options? Well, we could actually get 40 of them, and that's going to give us our spend of 1,000. So what about in terms of potential returns? Well, if we play around with the simulator, we get that price up through that $2.5 strike, say, and let's just settle it in on just over $5. We've seen the range, it's between nearly 0 and 100 over the last few years, so even in the last short term, it's been around $3-4 in the last few months. So it's not a number that's too out the realms of possibility. And what does that do for our profits on these trades? Well, if the 800 shares do get up to just over $5, it's going to net you a nice $3,000 return, and that's a 308% gain. Now the call, even better still, that $1,000 you put into the trade is going to turn itself into nearly $9,500, 940% return on just that small price move. So that's really all I could come up with in the option strategy thinking ideas here. It is a risk, this stock, huge volatility. It really is a sort of a punt. That call is probably around about 40 delta. You could lower the delta further still on the cost, but is that worth it? Is that the point? 2.5 does seem quite a realistic strike price if you're going to take this punt on. And like I say, beware, it is a tricky one to trade. So with that, let's move on to the overall score for EVFM then. Based purely on the technicals at the moment, I'm going for a more neutral score. It has been in a pretty poor downtrend for a while, but last couple of days, and including this one, has been a bit more positive. There's a lot more positive interest coming in to the stock, and as you can see from the Heikin-Ashi and Renko charts, things starting to sort of turn, like I say, more neutral. And if you are bullish the stock, then 4-line break chart, as we pointed out, 2 levels to get in at, but they're probably going to be trounced on the open anyway. So up to you where you want to get in at if you are bullish there. 96.4% up probability on the probability power score tool. Waiting for that red T to turn green before we get interested to the upside, and that 96.4%, remember, is just the possibility of the stock moving up at that current price level. It's not a given, so don't just put all your eggs in one basket just because it looks like a hot number. It is, like I say, an estimation based on some calculations for, you know, a possible up move. Now, heading into the targets, really it's all about the upside. 5 to 1 and 9.44 to 1 if the stock price can get to the sort of $6-10 sort of zone. And downside, well, there's not really much to talk about there because the price is virtually worth nothing. Not a lot of wiggle room below there. Maybe if you wanted to buy some puts, it might be worth a little punt, 0.86, 1.2 to 1, but really I don't think it's worth the risk, especially with that volatility that the stock holds. So overall, a neutral score for EVOFEM at the moment. So EVOFEM, an interesting conundrum, to buy or not to buy, that is the question. Now, it is a risk, a very big risk. If it can turn itself around though, then you get the return, and that's what trading is all about. Those fundamentals still not looking the greatest. Can they turn things around? Who knows? We will see. Now let me know in those comments below what you think of the stock. Where do you think it is heading next? Is it going to peter out and go nowhere, or is it the next big home run thing? Like I say, I'd love to hear from you. You want to talk even more about it in more depth, then why not join us in our Traders Club on Discord, totally free, everyone welcome, where we talk all things trading. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please give us the thumbs up and hit the bell and subs button. And all that's left for me to say is thanks for watching, good luck with the trading, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.